Hey everyone, I am Raviraj. I'm part of the developer relations team at Freshworks. I hope you are all good. In this pandemic, it is not over yet. So still we are doing virtual events. So hope to see you all in a physical event next time or so in the next year. Right. So you might know me already from somewhere like support tickets, community, or officers, anywhere. So no more introduction needed, I hope. In this session, we are going to see some of the best practices widely followed or the platform, how the platform can be effectively and efficiently used. So let's get jumping. So this is the agenda we are going to see for tomorrow. So let's start with some of the foundations on serverless features and then some of the coding practices that are common and good practices widely used. And then keep adding your questions on the Q&A section. So our team will be answering them quickly. If not, I will be able to respond at the end. Right. So let's jump in. So when it comes to foundation, let's just start with the very basic. What is serverless in generic, right? So this is some of the infrastructure innovation happened with the serverless, where the infrastructure as produced as a service, right? So we are doing like it happened like auto scaling servers that you don't have to manage anything. So when it comes to just the name itself, the serverless, it has server. So definitely it has server. It is not serverless. They are abstracted away from developers, so you don't have to care about the infrastructure. So you will be able to spend your time mostly on the business logic, right? So and mostly the configurations and your own code is exposed to the developers, so you don't have to take care of any infrastructure. And since there is nothing managed by the developers and individually taken care, it is fully reliable and there is no maintenance required, right? So also, since it is built based on usage, this becomes inexpensive uh, compared to former servers that runs forever, right? So then let's go to what is serverless at Freshworks, right? So the serverless component of the app in Freshworks platform, it is deployed into a serverless environment in the Freshworks cloud platform, right? So uh, in this way, like we are even taking one step ahead and extracting out even configurations. So you don't have to uh, uh, even configure anything. It is fully taken care by Freshworks. You just push your code and it works, right? So you don't have to worry about different configuration management like scaling, building, security, monitoring, to say a few, right? And then again, it is no cost to use at the Freshworks platform for an ideal use so far, right? And when to use this Freshworks serverless app for any feature, right? You might have already used a serverless app or just worked on the front end app. Let's see some of the useful use cases that can be solved with the serverless apps, right? When it comes to the automations in the product itself, right? So only some of the major entities are supported, and you cannot solve some solution that require the rest of the entities of the product, right? So with the product events, you have all the entities covered from the product, so you will be able to write any custom actions in the server app itself upon there is an event from any of the entities, right? And then you can solve real-time synchronization with any of the external system. And the next use case is very straightforward. You want to notify something at the later time. Scheduled events is the way to go, right? Yeah. With when to use the tools also comes with the when not to use, right? So you know the tool best when you know when not to use it, right? So the serverless features are released for frequent use cases that are frequently needed for the business requirements. Right? These features can go for certain distance, and some of the business requirements can be totally new, or it cannot be solved with the serverless, right? So that is when you will have to go for a self-hosted middleware server, uh, uh, suggested for some of the use cases, where you will have to run certain system like memory or IO intensive, or heavy lift data synchronization, or even something like a cryptocurrency mining, right? So let's go over some of the existing serverless features for a light introduction, right? So app setup events is one of the feature of serverless, and you can use it for registration and some cleanup process. For example, when an app installed, you can do a user registration, or you can generate a webhook in the app and register in the third party upon using on app install event. When there is an on-app uninstall event, you can delete the user or the webhook register, right? And then also you can prefer to use installation parameters feature in the that's common for the app configuration when you have to do some input validation, something like the domain and API key validation, or you have to validate some data with the external system and everything. You don't have to come to the app setup events, right? It will take a further delay and involve a lot more component in the app, right? And then there is one thing you might have seen everywhere, which is quite new in our platform, that the render data is used as a callback to the functions, right? So it is introduced by our platform to make it as a callback that comes with the function. So you have to call this when you have to completing a function execution, right? So a couple of examples there, like you have to say, you have to register a user, create a user in the third-party system like the Slack or GitHub or Jira, right? So you can do that in this function. Also, when you have to delete the user whenever the app is installed, you'll be able to do that with the ARM app uninstall, right? So next one is product events. Here you will get a trigger whenever there is a entity in the product gets changed or created or anything, right? So for that, you will be able to write some a set of options through your code, and it will get triggered automatically whenever the event gets triggered, right? So this is the product event. When you are writing this function, you will have to remember what all the functions you are writing in this function. So it will go only up to the timeout. When you are expecting it to go beyond the timeout, right? So you have to probably use a scheduled event to schedule it for a later time, right? So also you have to remember that since this is automatically triggered from the product, and it is going through a queue and then coming to you, probably you have to remember that the order will not be the same as the order of actions happening in the product, right? So you will have to keep remembering that, so that in your solution, wherever the order is required, you will have to handle that. When you have a two-way data synchronization, products events can be used for one of the way. The other way, there is another event called the external events coming to save you. One of the example with the product events, like you have to, let's say, whenever there is a ticket status changes in fresh surveys, you might have to change a ticket status in Jira, right? So that can be solved with the product events. And when you have a schedule events is another feature where you have one-time schedules and the recurring schedules. Uh, this one you can use it for some batch data synchronization, and this can be even extended for further actions by yeah, further actions can be extended with repetitive schedule, right? So and then let me give you an example. Like you can do a periodic notification for any open task in Freshworks CRM. Right? The next one is external events. This one will be useful when you have to listen to one uh, change in any of the external system, just like product events, but product events is for Freshworks products, but this one is for the any of the external products. Let's say if you're integrating with the Jira, if there is a change happening in Jira, you will be able to notify your app back again with the external events, right? So this is how you can handle. The response for the external events cannot be changed. So it is always will be constant. This is a common feature asked by the community. So it is under construction. Consideration to be able to give us feasibility to change the response. Right? And then you have to remember that since you are doing a external system being integrated, you have to consider all the possible errors and consider all the limitations from our platform as well. Like this might be a different data type that is being sent in the payloads, or it could be the size loaded with any of the payload with the files or something, right? So also you have to remember that it comes with the timeout, and you have to remember the actions are getting completed within that time. Right? One of the example is like whenever there is a ticket and whenever there is an appointment created in calendar, you will be able to create a ticket in Freshworks, right? So the final one is server method invocation, SMI. You might probably have used it many times in from your front-end app. So this is basically a server method that has been called from the front-end app, right? So when it will be used is when you have to do some secure operation from your app that you don't want to expose in the browser, right? So you will use it. It's because it is totally running on a secure cloud where the agents will not have access to, right? So also you have to remember that when you do this, like combine the activities is pretty common. Like let me do everything I want to do in one function, right? So this comes with a shorter timeout, like only 5 seconds. So you have to be careful on what are the actions you are doing in the function. A few examples for SMI, like you might have to generate a secure JWT token before you are contacting an external application, right? Your own API server or something. Also, when you are doing some schedules, you will also be able to update or delete it from the front end app. Right? Yeah. So everything over with all the functionalities, let's go back to the nature of serverless apps, right? So the serverless apps are all executed asynchronously. It is not relevant to any of the apps, or even consecutive triggers will go to different applications, right? So it keeps on changing, and the functions are executed, keep executed, and then the response comes. Uh, your app has to wait for this. That is how the render data is exported, right? So to make sure your app will be waiting for some of the response, right? So when you do that, so you have to remember that you are closing all the conditions that you have opened, right? When you are writing a function, you might be branching out, like you might have a if-else condition, or you might be doing some loops or everything. So remember to close everything. Uh, Also invoke the render data callback at the end of the function, so you don't do any of the actions post that. So because you will lost the contact, and you will not even show that it has been completed, right? That is one thing. And also avoid using global variables, because like when another app is using the environment, you might have like previously run functions might have used the same global variables, right? Something like that. And let's yeah, it is going a little boring, right? So let's go and play with some quiz, right? So I'll ask someone to share this link in the chat. Let's go and play with this. I hope people will be able to join this. Share you the link. think, yeah, I'm seeing few people joining and reacting to it. You could also join from mobile by using this menti.com and the mention code 2615393. Mhm. Yeah, I see 90 to have reactor. So let me wait for some time to ensure everyone join. Yeah, I have used this lake view just to get some this moment. So I visited this lake in one of the mountain before the pandemic. I wanted to just visit it again. Okay, let's get started, right? So which serverless feature is your favorite? This is just going to be your automated question. Yeah, someone said just serverless itself. Awesome. Yeah, we are seeing scheduler coming up along with the SMI, the external events. Someone just mentioned async await. They are just happy to use ES6 features on serverless. Awesome. SMI is taking a center stage. Callback, SMI. Hey, external event came up. Ooh, NPM packages, I see the recurring schedules. Mhm. All right. Mhm. We are seeing clearly it is visible that the SMI and external events are getting popular, followed by scheduler. Awesome. We are also seeing recurring schedules and scheduled events and everything. Yeah, awesome. Let me go to the so now you will be asked to fill your name. That was first one was just to get you started. Yeah. Mhm. Well, I can't even count. Good. Yeah. Give your name. It's asked how. Yeah. Let me go for a first question. So, hope this question is usable. Which of the recent developer platform releases are you eager to use? You can see that some of the features are announced now, that front-end frameworks, the versus portal, and a lot more in the roadmap. And new app management portal is already live with the Fresh Caller and team, and it will be coming soon for other products. Awesome. So we have a few more questions. So before that, let's also go back to our slides and then we will come back to it later after seeing the session, because the questions are based on the session, right? Keep noticing, noting down all the things we are seeing in the slides, right? Yeah. When it comes to the next thing we are going to see is some of the coding patterns. Yeah, let's come back to the slides. Okay. So these are we are going to see how the events and functions are mentioned, right? So follow the same syntax that has been shown in our documentation, and how it is being shown now in the clearly in the code snippet. That this is the same syntax that is used for registering the events and exporting the functions, right? So some of the other ways are possible that you will be able to hack around in Node, but they are not supposed to be, not all the ways are supported in serverless, because we are running it on our own framework on our serverless, right? So we will be able to, some of them we are able to support, and it is currently not possible with some of them. You might have used a few other methods that you might have faced some issues that we have suggested to go with this way. And follow the remember again to use the render data callback. Forgetting this will lead to issues in the production, right? So also some of the customers will may not be able to use your app as expected, and as you expected. Uh, with platform version 2.1 that has been released last year, that has some enhancement, event registration, and the how the functions are defined varies. Let's see how it works in the platform 2.1. Right? So you have this new way of registration process for the events that if you see in the left side manifest JSON file, along with the product, you also mentioned the events where you usually mention the app location for front-end apps, right? So along with the application, the events are also registered in the manifest JSON file, right? And then if you come back to the right side code in server.js, only the functions are defined. Now you can see that clearly the code is super clean with only the functions. You don't have to register the events and the relevant functions, right? With this way, you will be able to configure what all the events you are going to use in the configurations. With this, you are able to remember that events actually this configuration regard to the manifest JSON file. Right? And next one is how you are modularizing the code, right? So you can see without noticing, you might be bloating the server.js file, and the lines would keep increasing forever. And at the end of the code computation, you see that you will have more number. The server.js will be having a lot of lines, right? So you can remember that whenever it crosses 100 lines, it is time to split the files, right? So you will be able to split it actually, right? So whenever you have to do it, split it based on the technical functionality or the business module. However, the use case you are solving will support splitting the files, right? So if the number of files itself is growing, or you will have to the rest of the files are growing, probably you will have to use nested directories, so that you will have the this nested files will also have the similar module structure will be followed, right? So that will be able to quickly, it will be easier for other developers and even yourself after a few months to easily pick and understand the app and quickly able to continue working on it, right? So next thing is comes to security. Serverless environment is safe by default. It is running on a secure cloud and it is protected by Freshworks. But you will have to be careful leaking yourself some of the things when you are doing some passing some information in the functional arguments, or making some network access, or returning some payloads with the sensitive data or something, right? Do not get any data out of the serverless function when it is not required, right? So when it is ultimately required, you can use it. Otherwise, leave any data within the same environment. Also, uh, 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 when you are sending the data to the serverless function, also do not send unnecessary data which may not be used in the functions. It's, only you send whichever data that you need in the functions, right? And so uh, there could be some assumption that data storage is uh, pretty fine and you can store everything, but you have to remember that it is stored in plain text. However, the format you are choosing to store, it will be stored the same. When you have to store some sensitive data or secure information like an API key or something, you will have to take care of encrypting it yourself within the app, right? So then with that comes to secrets management, right? That's as long as using the secrets within the serverless environment is fine, right? So you can even hard code it without even leaking anywhere, right? So, but you have to be careful not leaking it anywhere where you are making a network call or something. Also, avoid transmitting secrets in the request body. That you can see that we have released a new security feature that we will not be able to do it using using this secure IPARAM. You will not be able to use request body, right? And the URL. In serverless, you can see that it is available in the in clear text. You don't have to use IPARAM that templating, but you have to still remember that sending over URL or body will not be safe over network. Right? Also, there is a safe for secrets management being researched in the platform, and it has been requested by the community, and it is under construction by the people, right? So next comes up finally a clean code practices. This is just a lot of suggestions to make that whenever you are doing, have some proper logging without polluting the code or logs. Do not log whichever you may not need, right? So also it may not help you, but pollute the logs, right? So also do not also remember to keep logging everything, right? And then neglect to use global scope, as we mentioned about the global variables, like whatever you have to do or whatever you have to store or define variables, do it on the functions and pass it along to the down the all the high level functions. So you don't have to do anything on the global scope. And then keep the code clean and lean, right? So whenever you don't have to, you are commenting on some code or have some comments that are outdated comments, you can clean them. Always keeping the code clean will help you and your team, right? Finally, use meaningful variable names, function names, arguments, wherever you are creating your own names, right? So in the code, always use meaningful names. So it will be helpful wherever down the line you are using. So you will be able to find where it is going and what it is doing by the name itself. Right? So yeah, the next one is we are out of coding practices, so that's all I have. And then it comes to dependencies. A lot of the time, even we have seen in the code that you have mentioned dependencies, right? So you might have to use some dependencies, or it will be fun to use, right? So to use some of the famous popular dependencies, right? We have to mind how we are choosing these dependencies, right? So there will be some signals where some of we can find the bad among the good dependencies. This is how you can validate. Let's see. You can see maintainability by last published date. Also, when the recent release and how many releases and the frequency of frequent releases, right? This will assure you the maintainability of the package and how the author is maintaining, right? So here is an example of Axios library that has 5 months ago published, last published. So it is even quite long, but it is fine. Next one is popularity. So you can see how much the weekly downloads it has, right? So when a lot of people are using it, the a library, yeah, it is a high stakes involved with the package, and more probably not break it, but it is still the maintainer's hand in there. But you can go with the popular library as much as possible. And next one is you have to note down the issues that packages might have. So you can see that packages, this Axis have 145 issues open in their repository. Not all of them could be bugs, but some issues or functionality breaks and everything. So you'll be able to choose an issue-free package that will be better. The next one is choosing a lightweight library over heavy one, like that you will be able to see by seeing the package size in the npm. So, more things about dependencies that you have to remember: there are risks involved, like so all the dependencies come up with few or more risks with them, right? Something like even it could be duplicated all of a sudden, or even with the notice, it may not be feasible for you, right? So, for example, request npm has been duplicated regardless of how popular they are, right? And instead of using a simpler packages like a Lodash or underscore or something, you will be able to use something. You will be able to write your own util classes or something. I think I am going over time, so I will go faster with some of the slides. Right. So uh, there are some unexpected errors could come up since you are dealing with the others code, and also your error handling should be comprehensive. So you are handling every cases and scenarios, right? So when it comes to maintenance, you will have to take care of the maintenance of the dependencies within your app, right? So you will have to update the dependencies whenever you are updating an app. Also check for vulnerabilities from some of the sites, famous like the snipe.io or something. So you will be able to keep on updating and having using the safer dependencies. And let's come to troubleshooting. So there are some mechanisms that you can use for troubleshooting. So it always some of the apps fail, or there are some unexpected cases you will have to deal with, and there are some unique data that you may not have expected, right? So always logs comes to the rescue. You can use console.error and info for positive and negative cases, so you will know when you are troubleshooting what you are doing and where it got stopped, right? So there is a useful live a wiki article written by Whale that how you will be able to debug a local application with the VS Code and the Node.js debugger, right? So if you have figured out a ways in other IDEs, also let us know, so we'll be able to add to our resources. So there are some external services and integrations you will be doing with your app, and that includes all the edge case scenarios and everything have to be handled with your app, right? So you have to take care of a lot of the things like timeouts, content types, and even if you have to expect some downtime with some of the services. And these are things you will have to consider when you are doing troubleshooting. And if you have done some prevention with your app to handle these cases, you will be able to easily figure out where the system is going down, right? The app is failing. So whenever there is a system failure, do inform the users with the proper failure errors and things. So they will be able to clearly give you the cases where it is going. Uh, what is something that can help you troubleshoot. Next is trouble testing. So local testing is one of the thing that is feasible with the FTK, right? So you will be able to almost test everything in your local development environment itself. So do iterate in your local environment itself with all your features, and it will be effective instead of pushing it to custom apps or something, right? So every time. So there is a simulation for all the events, simulate all the events and test it until it works fine and you are not touching the code anymore. So so that you will be able to make sure the edge case scenarios are covered. And there is a another plug for end-to-end testing. If you could remember, we launched the end-to-end testing in the last huddle, and you will be able to test app setup events, and end-to-end testing also give a real-time experience for some of the features like the OAuth or installation parameters, almost equal to a production environment, right? So since you are testing in the same app gallery, and you will be able to have the similar experience, right? Yeah. Next one is serverless test framework. Uh, Not all the things we will be able to manually test every single time, right? So even for QA people, right? So with the serverless test framework that has been launched last year, you will be able to test every nook and corner of the app. So even you will be able to achieve 100% coverage, right? So there are some sample labs that has 100% coverage for serverless apps, right? So you will be able to even tweak the test data dynamically during the test. So you will be able to write this and test all the edge cases that even may not be possible with the manual testing, right? So with a stable app, with the serverless test framework, you will be able to do a complete unit test coverage with that might less likely to fail in a QA review, right? So yeah, when it comes to manual testing, yeah, disclaimer that there is a FDK is a simulation of all the platform features. It is not the same as the production, right? So you will have to sometimes you have to do some most of the testing. You will be able to do it faster in your local. That is what the FDK brings you. Uh, you will have to choose custom apps sometimes where you will have to test in real time, right? So make sure to test in custom app as well when you have to finally ready for the publishing. So you will be able to assure all the functionalities works in the production environment, right? Uh, for example, external events can be tested by actually deploying as a custom app without tweaking anything with the platform, and you will have real-time events going on, and end-to-end you have now tested, right? So yeah. So next comes up the restrictions. Like there are platform restrictions available for everything. Like when you are designing the app itself, you have to mind all the rate limits that the platform has, and you will have to develop the app functionality accordingly. Right? When you are choosing the functionality itself, you have to mind all the things platform provides and restricts. Right? So try to make the app work efficiently within the default rate limits. Sometimes when there are a bigger customer that you may not be able to further make it efficient, that time you might have to request for a higher rate limits for particular customers. Right? So for that we have this devices now. You can go and request for a higher rate limits for that. So until there is a higher for higher customer getting automatic rate limits for them. Yeah. Next, it is just not a rate limit or timeout. There are also payload limit and length limits of its data types. Also, there are restrictions that you will have to. The platform has all the restrictions mentioned in the documentation. If there are any something missing, we are keep looking and changing those, and you will have to remember these are the some of the different sites for the restrictions, right? So also the data types are important. So even though JavaScript doesn't have types, right? So our platform has types for all the payloads. So next thing is node features and system access, right? So you might have tried accessing some of the node core modules such as buffer or FS or debugger or some of the util functions. These are restricted for a security concerns on the system. So since it is running in a serverless environment, we don't want to mess with the environment itself, right? Similar to node features, some of the common system access also restricted, like an environment variable or file system or OS. So whenever you need these variables, please let us know. So we will be able to see where we can fit in. Next one is uh, the final one restriction is node update and the ES6, right? So as we hear the before from GB, Node 12 is coming soon, and also Node 10 will be supported for a long, right? From our platform. Don't worry, it is not deprecating soon. So wait for the Node 12 upgrade in our FTK and backend serverless, right? Also for ES6, it is also coming up. Keep holding for that. And we just have a couple of questions more on your Menti. Like if you still have it, go for it. Go back to Menti, and we have a couple more questions. That's it. Yeah. Yeah, everyone is same here. Right? If you are still out, you can use the same code to join. Next question. The question is coming up. Which of those can be used to modularize your code based on? Yes, the 9 members have answered already. The answer is coming up. Yeah, both of them are the right answers. Like we discussed, like you can modularize however you want. Mostly technical functionality and business module will be able to easily relatable for the next developer picking the app. Right? So next one. Yeah, so we can see the leaderboard, and Jack is leading, and the Sarnet is again leading. Google is in third place, and yeah, we can even see all the names again. Keep going. So, which JavaScript ES6 features do you like the most? So, it is just a few examples from features from ES6. Mm-hmm. 4 people, 5 people, right? Right. Just like you like the arrow functions more, or even clearly all of them are in the same levels. I hope you all like them most. Mm-hmm. Arrow functions and promises. You might have already used them in serverless, but yeah, soon they are coming to PK and front end. Cool. Final question is coming up. Answer fast to get more points. Choose dependencies based on what? That is size, author, last date, repository license. Yeah, everyone has got it. Sure, clearly package size and the last published date is the right answer. Yeah, you could debate with me that package author and repository license could also give you some hope that the dependency is good. Yeah, but they are still opinions. Right? So let's see the leaderboard again. We are seeing the almost same kind of answers. Pecan was fastest. Yeah, Jack the winner. Cool. Yeah, with this is just for a fun. This is ended. So let's get back to what is we have for a takeaways from this session, right? So you might already have got some of these from the quiz itself. So whenever you have this designing the functionality, mind all the limits and restrictions. So you will be able to do better apps and consider all the platform features for feasibility. So you might for some use case that is not possible with one feature might be possible with another, right? Also check support for a particular app type or product, even with the CX feature, cloud types and everything has to be checked. But let's just wait for what is possible with the product and type. So you don't have to waste time before while during the development, right? So estimate the data to be served. Sometimes you will have to deal with a bigger customer that a lot of people will be agents will be using the app at a time. So you will have to mind that a lot of developers might be at a time using, or the large number of tickets might be generating a lot of events. So you will have to calculate all of that. So you will have to also estimate how much events you are expecting, and how many agents or concurrent users are you are expecting to design your app better. And also have also a production environment in mind whenever you are developing, that how it will look like in the production environment. So it will be you will be able to give a great experience for the customer.